I am Nikki, and if you're here, you are likely in the infertility, fertility, TTC community, so welcome to my channel. I'm going to spend some time telling you a little bit about the journey that me and my husband have been on over the last 2 years as we've been trying to have a baby, in hopes to help educate, to give you some insights into what we're experiencing. I love doing research. I'm not a doctor, but I want to just share with you what we've been going through so that it helps you if you're going through this as well, and maybe prepares you if you're just starting out on your journey. You will never on this channel hear me apologize for calling my body parts the name that my body parts are, or to tell you that this is TMI. We're way past that now. In this infertility, we are past saying that this is TMI. If you're here, we're never gonna say that. Just letting you know. A little bit about myself. You know, Jeffrey and I have been trying to conceive for 2 years, and the journey has been a little complicated because of the pandemic. So our 1 year of trying anniversary, if you will, hit right when the pandemic hit. So right when we were about to take the leap to get doctors involved in our journey, pandemic hit, and of course that changed our plans. We had to wait till things reopened. And before seeing a doctor, we were tracking ovulation. So I did ovulation predictor kits. They're called OPKs. And it's where you track and see when you might ovulate based on the hormones that are being released, and you dip little sticks in your urine and you track everything that way. So we were doing that on our own. I have an app. I use Pre-Mom, really great app. The ovulation predictor kits have an app that goes with it, whatever. You can get them on Amazon. They were like the cheapest options, and a lot of great reviews on there. So we were trying for about 1.5 years, and then finally got to go and see a fertility expert. So we decided to jump right into a fertility clinic versus going to my OBGYN. I always want to get experts in their fields, and I knew we needed help, so why not go to the expert? At our very first meeting with the doctor, they wanted to get kind of just overview of information, medical information. So they had like a packet, and it was like this much paperwork on things like my medical history, Jeffrey's medical history, our family medical history, etc. Lots and lots of information. They also wanted to do what's called a transvaginal ultrasound. Transvaginal ultrasounds means that they're sticking a wand up your vagina, and they want to look at your uterus, your ovaries, your fallopian. They can't see your fallopian tubes. They can see your ovaries and your uterus during that transvaginal ultrasound. And they also wanted to send me to get blood work done to check things like different hormones that your body should be producing, such as AMH. So they're gonna do blood work, and then in addition to this, they want your spouse, if you have a male partner, I shouldn't say spouse, right? A male partner, they're gonna want a semen analysis to make sure that there aren't any issues on the other end too. So they're checking out your goods and they're checking out his goods. So that's how the first appointment goes. Now for our fertility clinic, they wanted us to do what's called an HSG. And the HSG is when they're going to look at your uterus and your fallopian tubes. And what they really want to see, well, there's a few things that they probably want to see. They want to make sure that your uterus looks exactly like it's supposed to look. They also want to make sure that your fallopian tubes aren't blocked. So during the HSG, they're going to fill your uterus up with liquid, and they're going to watch the liquid come out of your fallopian tubes. So that's the HSG. For us, our insurance doesn't cover anything for infertility, and we knew that the HSG was going to cost quite a bit of money. I'm going to do a separate video on all the financial sides and everything that we've paid for, how much we've paid. I'll link that in the description below once that's complete. Our doctor, we decided to take some time to do the HSG and had just the blood work, my transvaginal, and the semen analysis done. Had a consultation with the doctor. Everything looked great. Nothing abnormal, nothing different, nothing that we needed to have, or nothing that indicated that diagnosis at that point. So we, at this point, have had unexplained infertility. We decided to do the HSG in January of this year. At my fertility clinic, they don't do the HSGs on site. Some clinics do, some don't. So for me, I had to go to the hospital. It was really strange to go to the hospital. I've only been to the hospital 1 time in my life. And to go to a hospital, meet everybody at this point is pretty much just strangers because we've only met the doctor the 1 time. And then you go into this room and there's this big x-ray machine. I had two nurses because one person was training. They asked if that was okay, and I was like, I guess so. Like, I don't even know what to say to this. Doctor comes in, you know, they're putting fluid in your uterus, so you've got to be all exposed, right? They're going up in there. So that was an experience. For me specifically, during the HSG, my doctor has been really great, and he had the x-ray screens pointed towards me because he wanted to explain exactly what we were seeing and what was going on, which I really, really, really loved. Unfortunately, during the HSG, we did see that my right side, my right fallopian tube, didn't have any liquid coming out of it. Not great. But my left tube, tons of liquid floating out. Also, just as a side note, the HSG for me hurt really bad. Like level 7 on the hurt spectrum. Way more than I hurt during cramps or anything like that. And I've heard that some people experience really bad pain during the HSG and some people don't. And sometimes that can be related to if you have a blocked fallopian tube or not. So anyways, just be prepared. Your doctor hopefully will let you know like what you need to do beforehand to hopefully minimize any of that pain. So we got the results of the HSG, and now we have all the results of everything else. So we had a follow-up, and again, at this point, you know, we know that the right fallopian tube, it's likely blocked. The RE went over different options for us. Option 1 was to do timed intercourse. So we would monitor everything up front. So monitor that my ovaries are producing eggs and follicles and eggs, and that my uterus is creating a lining that's nice and thick and squishy for potential embryo to implant. And then leading up also with timed intercourse, you're going to take medication and you're going to do what's called a trigger shot, which triggers ovulation. And it's actually like a needle that you do at your house by yourself or like with a significant other, family member, etc. Other option was to do IUIs, and IUIs all the same things as timed intercourse, except for with timed intercourse, you're like timing it. It's kind of funny. The doctor tells you like, this is what time you have to have sex. Okay, cool. And with an IUI, instead, your spouse or donor or whoever that's going to be who provides the sperm side is going to give their sample before. They're going to do what's called a sperm wash. So basically it's getting all the really great sperm to float to the, I have no idea if it floats to the top or the bottom or whatever, or what even a wash means, but basically in my head it's they're getting the best of the best sperm, the one that's actually going to probably make it to the egg. Then you're going to go in for a procedure, and they're going to take that sperm sample and take it and put it into your uterus, ready to go for when that egg drops into your uterus. So an IUI helps with the process. And then there's IVF, and I think IVF is most frequently when we think about infertility, when I even thought about people who had to go through this, I always just thought that IVF was the only option, and it's not. But IVF is obviously they're gonna have you produce as many eggs as you possibly can. They're going to take those eggs, and then they're going to take the sperm from your spouse or significant other or donor, and then they're going to put your sperm and your egg together, and then they're gonna put it back in to your uterus. I like these hand motions that I'm doing. For us, we decided to do timed intercourse. We decided to do that just because we wanted to try it on our own. We wanted just a little extra help and to monitor things. And we just wanted to give it a good old college try, or whatever the saying is. And so we've now been through to 1.5 cycles. 1.5 cycles. Our first cycle, and for me, because I have a blocked right fallopian tube, we know that we would never do an IUI when I'm ovulating on the right, because the egg may never make it to my uterus. For my first cycle, they put me on letrozole, Clomid. Those are the two most kind of famous medications that they'll put you on for a timed intercourse or an IUI. For me, they put me on letrozole. Okay, so how those appointments go is you do what's called a baseline appointment. And this means that when you first start your menstrual cycle, you call your fertility clinic and you say, hey, my period started, I'm ready to go. Then they schedule you to come in, typically on cycle day 3. So you are bleeding, and you're gonna go in for a transvaginal ultrasound. I think that was a little shocking for me, because I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm bleeding and then I've got to get an exam done. But you kind of get used to it after a while. You're just like always there, always taking your pants off, so you just get used to it. So they do the baseline. They take a look at how is your uterus doing right now? How do the ovaries look at this point? To create a baseline to know where you're going throughout the rest of the cycle. For me, I'm ovulating fine. My ovaries are producing eggs as far as we can tell at this point. So for me, my what they call protocol, so the steps that my doctor is taking might look different for you depending on what your diagnosis is. I have friends that have PCOS who have to go in more frequently to have more monitoring done and more ultrasounds. This is how it works. So we do baseline, and then they check everything out and they give you your prescription for me it was letrozole, and they'll also tell you to go ahead and order what's called a trigger shot. Your trigger shot triggers your ovulation, and it is actually a shot like that you stick in your stomach, and you do it on your own as not a medical professional. There's like not a learning curve, and there's tons of videos on YouTube all about how to do the trigger shot, but it was the strangest thing that I've ever done to myself, like on purpose, that felt painful. I don't know that even makes any sense. I'm gonna go ahead and give you all of that information, and then they're going to say, okay, now you're gonna come back in a week and we're gonna see where you're at. And what they mean by that is in a week from that appointment time, if you're ovulating like on a specific pathway, I guess you could say, they are going to look at where are you ovulating, which side are you ovulating on, and what they're looking at are follicles that are on your ovary. So this is like the thing that I keep telling all my family members and my friends, and I'm like, did you even know that your ovaries do this? Because I didn't know, and I think I fell asleep during anatomy class, or maybe we're not even taught this in school. So you have your ovary, right? Your ovary's floating there, hanging out. And these things called follicles, and again, I'm not a medical professional, so this is just like how my brain works, but you have these follicles, which is basically like, to me, is stretching the top of the ovary so that an egg can pop out, kind of like slingshots it out of there. And in order for an egg to pop out of the follicle has to be big enough. Otherwise the egg's gonna be like, ugh, and it won't be able to get out. Looking at your follicles, and they're looking at the size of your follicles, because again, they want them to be big enough that an egg can pop out of it, or will likely pop out of it. And so at the second appointment for our first cycle, that's when we found out that we were ovulating on the right side. So we were a little bummed because we really want it to be on the left side for us. But we decided to go ahead and do the whole protocol still, because we were like, well, we don't know if it's 100% blocked, if there's an opportunity that a little egg could come down that fallopian tube. So we decided to do it. And also we were like, this gives us an opportunity to feel less stress almost. Like we could hope that something happens, but there's not all that stress and like, oh my gosh, this is it kind of moment, I guess. So we decided to go ahead and do the trigger shot. So at your second appointment is when they prescribe your timed intercourse. It's like such a strange thing. They gave us a piece of paper, and they like tell you, this is the time that you're gonna give yourself the trigger shot. You're actually gonna put a needle in your body, and you're gonna trigger your ovulation. And then at this time specifically, you're gonna get down and dirty with it. We're like, okay, it's go time. It's still such a strange thing to think about, like the doctor is telling you when to have sex. So we went home, we watched like 5 YouTube videos on the how to give the shot. My nurse went over it with me too. She went through it really great, answered all my questions while I was at the fertility clinic. And she even said, like, there's tons of YouTube videos. You can just Google what kind of shot that you're going to be doing and see how other people are doing. And so that's what we did. Then obviously we had timed intercourse, and then my cycle came again for our first cycle. So no baby, because we ovulated on the right, but it was really cool to get all of that data and information. And so I'm currently in my second medicated cycle for timed intercourse, and this time around they decided to up my letrozole. So I was taking 1 pill for 5 days, and now I did take 2 pills for 5 days at the beginning of this cycle. And when I went in for my like review of the ovaries and the follicles, I had 3 pretty large follicles, which last time I only had 1 large one, and I had another one on my left, but it was pretty small. This time I had 3 large ones. 2 were big enough where the doctor said, "How do you feel about twins?" Excuse me? How do you feel about twins? And I was like, well, actually, like, that'd be pretty awesome. It's like a 2-for-1 deal. So asked if we were okay with twins, because on my left side, whoop whoop, we have 2 large follicles, big enough that when I would give myself the trigger shot, that we would ovulate potentially 2 eggs. And now here we are in the 2-week wait. I'm making this video so that I am concentrating on something else, not just thinking about what the heck my uterus, my ovaries, and that little egg is doing, or maybe eggs are doing down in my belly right now. They're not in my belly, they're in my uterus. Yeah, we know all that anatomy. And that's where we're at right now. And I'm really excited to do videos like this, to just share a little bit about our journey, where we're at, take you all along with us on the ride. I have been posting on TikTok, but decided that YouTube could be another medium that I'd really like to do longer videos like this, where I could share the entire story. I don't feel so constricted to that 1-minute time frame on TikTok. But if that's what you're into, you can find me on TikTok at Lucy Falloppia, and would love to have you join that community. I'd love to know in the comments too, where you're at in your journey. What questions do you have that I could help answer? Again, I love researching all of this and finding out information and really giving it in an easy, digestible way. And I know this particular video is long because it's the first introductory, like, this is our story leading up to this point. But really want to do like short little snippets of questions and answers to some of those questions. And I would just love to get to know you all. We're in this space together. No matter where you are, no matter what you've been going through on your fertility journey, this is a space for you. This is a space for me. And I'm just really excited to be here with you. And I feel like I have to say it because I'm on YouTube, but like and subscribe. But do that if you want to, because I'm going to be doing some videos on the financial side. I'd love to give you like actual to the T, like what we have been paying for all of this. And I'm located in Florida, so the pricing is going to be different, but we'll get into all of that. Take you along as I'll start testing, doing pregnancy tests soon, and take you all along on that journey with me, and then just posting some things. I'd love to do some things that I've done for mental health and things that have been really helpful that I've heard other friends do, and just provide resources to you all. So thanks so much for being here and for watching. I'm excited to be here.